today we're going to talk about the part 2 video of my healer series, The Journey into PvE Healing. Think of this as a guidebook that you can give to new players that want to get into PvE Healing but have no idea how to go about it. Timestamps will be in the description below, so let's get into it. So no matter what happens, the real party starts when you hit CP 160. So until then, what should you actually be doing as a beginner level healer? You should start by trying to establish a core foundation of healthy healing habits. So let's start with the skills and how to use them. On the front bar, you'll have a restoration staff equipped, and you'll want to have the following skills on that bar. Illustrious Healing. This is a ground targeted heal over time. You'll want to place this wherever your tank is located. Try to always keep this ability active at all times during fights, so the tank always has a solid source of heals. Combat Prayer. This is a great conal burst heal, and when we say conal, we mean that it will heal the targets that your character is facing. The secondary effect is that it will provide both minor berserk and minor resolve to those that are affected by the heal. Minor resolve will increase your team's resistance, making them more tanky, and minor berserk will buff your team's overall damage output by 5%. This ability is essential on a PvE healer, and you'll always want to aim Combat Prayer at your DPS so that you can maximize their damage output. Siphon Spirit. This is a single target debuff that applies minor life steal and minor magic steal, so when any of your allies hit that target, they'll receive both health and magicka in return. You'll typically want to use this ability on boss encounters. Radiating Regeneration. This is a smart targeted heal over time that can be cast on anyone within a radius of 28 meters. You'll definitely want to try to keep this active during your fights, and I typically try to cast this twice since it will hit only 3 of the 4 players. Healing Ward. This is a smart targeted damage shield that will also heal players if the damage shield does not break while on them, and the shield strength scales the lower the health of your ally. You'll typically want to use this ability when you see your ally take a huge amount of damage. Since Healing Ward is smart targeted, it'll go to the lowest health ally, giving them the reprieve that they need to heal back up from all the healing sources that we just mentioned. On your back bar, you'll have a destruction staff equipped. Elemental Blockade. This is a conal type of ability where you'll place a damage over time effect on the ground. You'll want to aim this towards the tank because that's where the boss is going to be, as well as where all the trash mobs are being gathered. The reason why this skill is important is because of the secondary effect, which has a chance to apply a status effect depending on the type of staff you have equipped. As a PvE healer, you'll want to stick with an ice staff with a frost enchantment because of the chilled status effect. This will apply both minor maim and minor brittle to the affected targets. For your ultimate, you'll want to have Reviving Barrier on your front bar so you can benefit from the Magicka Aid passive to give yourself more Magicka recovery, and Aggressive Warhorn on your back bar. I'll keep it simple and say you just want to do Battlegrounds to unlock these abilities. This will place you in a PvP environment, but it's important to know that these 2 skills are essential, if not mandatory. So until you can get both Barrier and Warhorn unlocked, I would just go with any class ultimates that do damage. On the Templar, you'll want Solar Disturbance. On the Warden, you can do either Northern Storm or Wild Guardian, and on the Necromancer, you can use Pestilent Colossus. If your Destruction staff gets to level 50, you can also run the Elemental Rage Ultimate. Your Mundus Stone, I personally would recommend the Ritual, but you can also run the Apprentice, the Atronach, the Mage, or the Thief. For food and potions, I wouldn't really worry about that right now. Just use any Magicka potions you come across, as well as any food that will grant you max Magicka or Magicka recovery. And just a reminder, your goal at this point is to do all of the normal, non-DLC dungeon content until you get to CP 160. Don't worry about gear until then, and practice using the abilities we just mentioned. Once you hit level 45, you'll get a letter in the mail, and this will direct you to start doing your Undaunted Delves from Balrog, as well as your Undaunted Pledges from Maj and Glarion. Do not do the pledges from Epilogue, because those will all be DLC related content, and that type of content is typically really hard for inexperienced groups. And lastly, leveling your Undaunted skill line will help you unlock the Energy Orb ability, which we'll get into a bit later. Okay, so now you're CP 160. Let's talk about the gear. You'll want to start out by using craftable sets, and I'm not expecting you to craft gear at your current level, and that's okay. You'll just want to join a guild and find someone who can craft the gear for you. I would recommend using Armor of the Seducer on the body, Kagranak's Hope for your weapons and jewelry, and Gift of the Magnus for your helmet and shoulders. Feel free to take a screenshot and use this as a reference when consulting with your crafter on what you need. So now that you have your sets fully crafted, let's clean up your skills, foods, potions, and attributes before we jump into vet content. So for skills, let's actually fill out that back bar setup that we left blank from earlier. From the Undaunted skill line, we'll be using Energy Orb. This is a moving orb that will heal anyone within its 8-meter range once per second. This is another ability that is essential, if not mandatory, because the secondary effect of this ability is the Healing Combustion synergy, allowing your allies to restore their resources when they activate the synergy. Now, I'll just stop here for a moment. This leaves us with 3 open spots on our back bar. I'll cover some examples that you can run for the Templar, Warden, and Necro, since those appear to be the most popular right now for PvE healers. On the Templar, you can run Extended Ritual, Purifying Light, and Luminous Shards. On the Warden, you can run Fetcher Infection, Budding Seeds, and Expansive Frostcloak. On the Necro, you can run Empowering Grasp, Necrotic Potency, and Unnerving Boneyard. If you haven't unlocked Barrier or Warhorn yet, I would make that a priority now and get it done as soon as you can. For food, I would recommend using Witch Mother's Potent Brew, which provides max health, max magicka, and magicka recovery. If you're feeling risky, you can do Ghastly Eyebolt instead, which provides only max magicka and magicka recovery. For potions, I would recommend using Essence of Magicka. This will provide you with major intellect to help boost your magicka sustain. For attributes, I would put yourself at 14 health and 50 magicka, and then once you're feeling more comfortable with dungeon content, you could change it to 64 magicka. Okay, your goal now is to focus on getting the following sets in these vet dungeons. For the monster set, which is your helmet and shoulders, you want to complete the following dungeons to get the helmets: Elden Hollow 2 for the Bogdan Knifeflame set, and Darkshade Caverns 1 for the Sentinel of Rakugam set. To get the shoulders, you'll want to talk to Maj and purchase the correct coffer with the Undaunted keys you've been collecting from the Undaunted pledges that I told you to do earlier in the video. Ideally, you'll want to have your helmet in heavy and your shoulder in medium with a divine trait and max magicka enchant. The reason we are doing a heavy and medium combination is because we want to take advantage of the Undaunted metal passive. If you don't have the right traits to start, don't worry about it right now. You can always transmute them at a later time. Once you have these monster sets, you'll then want to focus on farming for the Spell Power Cure set in the White Gold Tower dungeon. Once you can get 5 pieces for your body, you'll want to remove your Armor of the Seducer set and equip this. Ideally, you'll want the traits in Divine, but it's not a deal breaker. If you just go to a transmute station, you can transmute the trait and change it to Divines for 50 crystals. For weapons and jewelry, Kagranak's Hope is more than acceptable to stay on. When you do vet content, it's more difficult compared to normal, and there will be a lot more deaths. So having a fast resurrection speed combined with Spirit Mastery from your champion points is really beneficial. And it's even faster if you're a Templar because of their Master Ritualist passive. Okay, next you want to focus on getting Earth Core from the Bloodroot Forge dungeon and Symphony of Blades from the Depths of Malatar dungeon. These dungeons are quite the challenge for inexperienced groups, but with everything you learned so far, you should be more than capable as a healer to get your team through it. If you are successful in collecting Symphony of Blades, this will be your main monster set going forward. It's a great sustain set for your team that many healers utilize. Okay, so for champion points, I'm going to do a whole separate video going over all the CP used for healers. Check the description for the link when it eventually comes out, but for right now, I'll give you a nice foundation of what you want to aim for. In the Warfare tree, for Slaughtables, you'll want Rejuvenator, From the Brink, Enlivening Overflow, and Arcane Supremacy. For the non-Slaughtables, you'll want Blessed, Preparation, and Eldritch Insight. In the Fitness tree, Slaughtables, you'll want Spirit Mastery, Celerity, Boundless Vitality, and Rejuvenation. For the non-Slaughtables, you'll want Hasty and Hero's Vigor. And just a quick note, you will have to put a few points into Piercing Gaze and Tempered Soul in order to access Spirit Mastery, but trust me, it's totally worth it. Okay, that should cover everything you need to know to go from nobody to somebody. Be on the lookout for part 3 to this series, which I'm calling the Epilogue to PvE Healing, where we'll talk about how to really optimize your PvE healer gameplay for endgame content. Okay, let me know what you guys thought of the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.